So you want to have a game night and you've got a mixed bag of players who can't decide on a specific system, but you want to make sure everyone can enjoy it equally. Well, how about we make one together? Back to the channel. This is the Sacred Art of Gaming, where we love talking about gaming, and today we're gonna do like some game designing, I guess, if you can call it that, maybe. This is really just taking, not that I had this thought process at the time, but in hindsight I can see that I took my favorite parts of gaming at that time, mashed them together into what I felt was the simplest form possible, and we had an excellent time. This was actually for a bachelorette party, which is interesting, and not everyone had the same level of understanding of like D&D or anything like that, so I didn't really want people to feel tied to rules. I wanted it to be fast and fluid and people to be able to pick it up very quickly. So we're going to talk about that, and we might even talk about the setting a little bit. A little bit of a spoiler. It's based on the Bridgewater Triangle, which is weird. We'll get more into that later, but if I were to release something and you don't want like spoilers for the adventure or whatever, then just ignore that part. So here we go. Something I always thought I didn't love, roll under D20 system. I loved it, and I still love it. It's very quick, it's very efficient, and I dig that. I went with basically Dragonbane. I kind of went with roll under Dragonbane, but I just made it even more simple. I utilized 4 attributes, what I feel like are the core attributes, which are strength, agility, intellect, and presence. To me, those are the 4 core traits that you kind of need in a game. Like, you can build out more, but if you need like the bare minimum, I think that's the bare minimum. Especially if some people may argue presence, but I think especially for solo, it's important. So yeah, we did that. You could arguably roll for stats, but really what I ended up doing was kind of doing like a point buy system just to keep people like somewhat equal, not feeling like anyone was getting the shaft. So 10, 12, 16, 14 is more or less what I did as an example of like a character sheet. That's another thing I wanted. I wanted them to just be on an index card. I said strength, I meant might. Might, intellect, agility, presence. And then what I did from there, I took a few skills, which I didn't even have like a full skill list like what Dragonbane does. I kind of just generally had some in mind, similar to like Savage Worlds. And I pretty much had like some skills that they are good at and some skills that they are bad at. And it was basically like a modifier, similar to like the age system in a way. So like, for example, intellect is 16. Because they're good at it, or their research is based on intellect, so it's 18. Awareness is going to be based on intellect as well, similar deal, 18. Occult, this is actually a bad example because it doesn't give you a good variety, but acrobatics, I want them to have one thing that they're bad at. So acrobatics going to be based on agility, that's going to be a -2. So there was that is really just pulled from Dragonbane. Another thing that I really wanted is to have all player-facing roles. I didn't want to do any of the rolling. I wanted to focus on just telling a story. Now, that makes it good for solo too, actually. So really what I did was might was, or endurance was like your physical resilience, and willpower is like your mental resilience. And I pretty much just had 3 strikes for each one. What system does that feel like? Easy D6? Yes, you are correct. So, although they don't do like for each one into willpower and endurance, which is what we did here. And then really just a little bit of gear and then some type of ability. The main thing holding me back from releasing this in some kind of way that makes sense to people outside of my own brain are these damn abilities. Because all these abilities, the ones that I have, not all of them, like there was no balance. There really wasn't. Can recall anything they've seen for longer than a minute for photographic memory on the bookworm. The artist, however, able to make assumptions about symbols and images with a bane. I did boons and banes, similar to Dragonbane. And it's just kind of hard to tell like if something is good or not. But if you see this video and you're like, dude, release that shit, I want to play it, let me know. So yeah, there was that. Another thing I implemented, I really wanted like bennies. I think I called them luck in this, but it was pretty much acting like bennies, because I've noticed in Savage Worlds and other games like that, people love when it's like, hey, you did a cool thing, I appreciate that. Bling, here's a token of my appreciation, and ideally it's some type of thematic token. I took some notes on some other stuff that didn't make it into this game but could be in alternative versions of it, like enemy AI is something I'm big on, but it was really unnecessary for this type of game, because this game, maybe I should have mentioned this game was like an investigative game. You are like college students and you break down in the Bridgewater Triangle and you get pulled into some investigative stuff. So can you fight? Yes. Is that the thing to do? Not really. Like there's a jock in here somewhere, the athlete has a baseball bat. And then I did have things like a Letterman jacket, for example, gave a +1 to the endurance. And how that would work is let's say they get hit by something and it's physical, they would roll on their endurance, and this is a pretty good endurance, 17. As long as they roll 17 or under, they're good. Willpower, however, very low. Mental, weird, ghostly stuff can definitely affect can the athlete more. And you can see that his might is a 16, but his endurance is a 17 because of the +1 from the Letterman jacket. We were just trying to keep it simple. And the banes and boons are really just advantage and disadvantage, if you're not familiar with those terms. For the most part, a hit is really just 1 strike, if you're not familiar with Easy D6. Rare circumstances, there's 2 strikes, but that didn't really exist in this game from the player's perspective. And then we kind of, zones existed, but we didn't really have to get into that much. And something else I kind of stole from Dragonbane was the parry and dodge options. Basically, you can give away your turn in an attempt to parry or dodge. And we really just kind of ICRPG style just used, hey, does it make sense for that to be might, agility, intellect, or presence? And if it fell under like one of those and it wasn't a skill that was called out here, we just made that determination on the fly. And it was smooth as butter. It was a lot of fun, actually. I felt like this was a risk, a pretty big risk to like make a system and play that for something that is like an event. But it went well. And yeah, so the Bridgewater Triangle, this one-shot adventure, we'll kind of talk about the adventure a little bit. Not meant to be insulting to any Native Americans or anything, but that is a part of the story because of real-world lore. Essentially what's happening, the Bridgewater Triangle is actually in like Massachusetts, I think entirely. And there's just a lot of weird stuff that happens over there, to include, but not limited to, cult activity, thunderbirds, giant snakes, giant turtles, I believe, Bigfoot, ghosts, shadows, of course, right? Puckwudgies, which are these little, like, chubby fey things. What else? Oh, the black dog, of course. Will-o-wisps. There's all kinds of crazy. I may have a list at the bottom here. Yeah, that was kind of it. Yeah, that's at least for what I had here. There's all kinds of stuff, but there's also like a hitchhiker on Route 44 that I think looks like a lumberjack, sort of. And so yeah, the adventure kind of starts with them, little interlude, them in the car talking about a road trip. Whether it's the hitchhiker, the Thunderbird, Puckwudgies, something happens. Puckwudgies is fun to say. Something happens to essentially get them stuck, make them go into the forest. You can roll on a table to make it random or just decide. And then I pretty much had a few different zones, like big zones, whether it was the road and then going into the forest. And then deeper into there was a swamp. And that is based on a real world swamp. And then the outskirts of a town where there's like a dog track and a hospital where everything culminates in that area. And yeah, it was pretty neat because they essentially find out on this petroglyph rock that there are 6 artifacts that they need to get. And they don't fully understand that at the time, but there are 6 artifacts available. They need to get 3 and basically put them in this triangle and do a ritual to get rid of the Hat Man, which is not necessarily part of the triangle, but it seems like a cool like main antagonist as something that's essentially trying to break into the real world. And there are like Native American curses and King Philip and all this cool history. They run into a hermit for like a social encounter, or potentially run into them. It kind of gets everyone involved. There's a cool little puzzle around this medicine tree and the will-o-wisps, without getting into too much detail there. There's an interesting ledge that people feel compelled to like jump off of because of a curse there. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. The dog track has the big black dog, and there's also this like Black Panther. So like the Hat Man he's like a shadow person, and there's other shadows, very Alan Wake inspired in that degree, where you kind of use the flashlight and being able to hit them. But yeah, they're being stalked by this like Shadow Panther on top of that, and there's the cultists, and yeah, there's not everyone is necessarily a foe. Some of the supernatural beings can actually be helpful in some way. But yeah, ultimately, they're trying to close this portal where all these weird things are coming in through the Bridgewater Triangle. I don't know if I've said Bermuda Triangle on accident, but it's Bridgewater Triangle. And closing that portal, and the Hat Man essentially is leading the charge on this. So yeah, pretty neat, and there's a cool little puzzle at the end for, you know, making sure that takes place. So yeah, that's kind of pulling together a system, and the beauty of pulling together a system, you are intimately aware of the mechanics of it, and I think that applies for group play and solo play, and it runs very smooth whenever you kind of build it, right? Both the adventure and the system. So yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts. Let me know if you think it needs to be released in any state for whatever reason, because right now it's really just notes, but I kind of just keep kicking that can forever. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun YouTube things. Enjoy your holiday season, Halloween. It should be right now. Hopefully this is before Thanksgiving. I'll see you in the next one as we continue to explore the sacred art of gaming together.